Welcome to Powering Through Life, the podcast. I'm your host, Teresa Sims. I'm a coach, an author, wife, mom, survivor, and thriver. Each week on Powering Through Life, my guest and I will discuss a special topic that's close to their heart. Together, we will explore the challenges they have faced in life and learn what strategies and tools they have used to power through their life. So get ready to be inspired, motivated, and become a thriver. Welcome to another fantastic segment of Powering Through Life. And today we have a great topic that, many people are aware of, but not many of us understand truly. And this is the whole point behind Powering Through Life. The purpose of this podcast is to motivate the world through conversation. And today I have an exceptional guest with me. His name is Rob Baugh. Rob loves to sing and play piano. Music is his first love, as long as the melody is pleasant or something that he can tap his feet to. And I totally get that. After his brain injury, Rob tried to find his purpose for his injury. And he found it through podcasting to spread awareness. And that was his answer. So, Rob, welcome to Powering Through Life.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
You're very welcome. I'm really excited to do this because, like I said, it is a topic that is prevalent in the world today, but not a lot of us understand how it affects the person with the brain injury.
Yeah.
And one thing that I'd like to add to this is everyone needs to remember that we, with brain injuries, are human beings. We're people. We are not the injury. We're just a little bit changed.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that statement?
Oh, completely agree with that. Yes.
Thanks. So, Rob, would you please tell the listeners? Well, today our topic is brain injury awareness. So we'll start with that. Rob, would you like to just give us a little bit of information around your story and what happened?
Sure. Yeah. So I have an allergy to bees, so I'm very allergic. Carry an EpiPen with me, but I'm also have very much fearful of them as well. So on this particular day, I was going outside to feed my fish, and as I was coming back in the door, a bee flew by my head. And that caused a knee-jerk reaction. Well, I ducked as I was pulling the door open. And when I did, I got myself right across the skull. I had a 3-inch laceration that required 5 staples to my head.
Oh.
Luckily, my wife was home that day because I don't know what I would have done if she wasn't home because I would have panicked. I really would have.
Were you conscious after the injury happened?
I was probably out for maybe a minute or less. It felt like an eternity, but it probably were in reality, it was probably just like a minute or two at most. And I really thought I just was going to have a goose egg on my head because when I came to, I was holding my head. And then as I pulled my hand away, I saw the blood, and that was the moment that I knew my life changed.
Yeah. Yeah. And what happened when you got some help? Like, how did that, how were you treated, and what was the
Sure.
process that went behind that?
Well, I'll add to this that this was at the very start of COVID when everybody was we didn't know what COVID was, and you had to do everything by yourself. So my wife, she was a champion. She grabbed sheets, threw on the cars so we didn't look like OJ had been in there. And then she got me to the hospital in like 1 minutes. And my numbers are affected. So 1 through 9, I'm good. After 9, it's 1-0, 1-1. But when we got to the hospital, because of the severity, they actually did allow her to go back with me. And thankfully they did that because I didn't know anything. I couldn't tell you my birthday. I couldn't tell you really what day of the year it was. I didn't know anything. Um, they got me back to they were fast. And they came in and they said, we're going to numb your skull and it's going to sting and burn a little bit, which they lied. It stung and burned a lot.
Yeah.
And they do it right close to where the laceration is. And then they allow that to sit for a few minutes so you don't feel the staples going in your head. Well, the first staple, I felt it. Did I ever feel it?
Oh,
So they said, we're going to numb you again. And I said, no, no, no. Because that was worse than the staples. And I said, just do it. Get it over with. So they got all that done and they sent me for the scans and all of that. And hospitals don't like to use that brain injury word. They like to call it a concussion.
yes. Yeah.
So and I wonder if it's not for insurance purposes or whatever, but that's what they called it, a concussion. They sent me home and my head was like a migraine level headache at that point. And then as the days drew on, it never went away. So my doctor ordered an MRI and they confirmed it to be at first they called it post-concussion syndrome, but they're calling it a brain injury now. Um, but what happened at that point was I never got rid of that headache. We're 4 years out now and I still have that headache.
Oh, jeez.
When it rains, that doubles and that just cripples me. So I've learned how to keep a smile on my face to wear a mask because I learned early on I can let this defeat me or I can defeat it. So I choose to just press forward.
That's beautiful. And it's always uh, helpful for the body, the mind, and the soul to choose. I can let this affect me and I can wallow and fall into the self-pity
Mhm.
well, or I can stand up in my glory and say, this is who I am now,
Yeah.
and move on. I
Mhm.
mean, it is challenging. I know I experienced mild acquired brain injury from multiple concussions back in the day. And it's not easy. I mean, the headaches come out of nowhere. There's nothing that takes them away.
Mhm.
I've tried ice. I've tried obviously the medication route. I've tried relaxation. I've tried so many different things. It sometimes lessens the intensity, but not always. Do you find that the same?
Yeah, they have tried me on the Botox, they've tried nerve blocks.
Mhm.
It just seems like nothing takes the pain away. They just tried me on a new medication last month, and the only thing it did was add to my symptoms. I was sick every morning. And after 3 weeks, my wife said, "You're not taking that anymore." She said, "There's no reason because the pharmacy said you'll see a difference in 2 weeks. If not, it's not going to work for you." So I was giving it the benefit to give it a month. And my wife finally, she goes, "You're torturing yourself for no reason." She said, "Stop that medication." So I listened to corporate, as I call her.
Well, it's good though, because I know where you're coming from, because you desperately are searching for a solution. You desperately want relief, and you're almost willing to try anything to get that relief.
Oh, yeah.
But it's fantastic that your wife is there, and I have my husband here to say, okay, enough's enough.
Right.
This is a change, or this is not working. Think about it. And
Mhm.
ultimately, it's your choice. However, the other person has to live with us and we have to live with them. And if it's not helping, it's probably harming.
Yeah. And I think you can take too many medications.
Yeah, absolutely. One medication will help this and then it will counteract something else. And no offense against the medical industry. They are trying their best with the knowledge
Yeah.
they have.
Right.
Just at times there is no relief. And so how do you process a day when you've got this? So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, what's your average pain level? I know you've probably been asked that a million times per day of your headache.
Well, this is funny you ask. I have an app on my phone. Every day I track my pain level. And when this first happened, it was about 6 or 7 daily. And then when we got our first COVID shot, it went to an 8. Never came down from an 8. Then when we got our boosters, it went to 1-0. It's never come down since the booster. But we talked to our doctor and they said, well, you've had your shots. They just don't feel it's best for me to continue to do that because it had me in bed for 2 days every time I took that shot.
Oh my goodness. And you're doing that because it's recommended, and we want to protect ourselves and develop the antibodies, whatever the case may be. But they clearly don't understand the full ramifications of what can happen to specific individuals, like
Right.
it's, yeah, we all react different, and some of us didn't react, and some of us did react, and not always in a good way. So,
hmm One thing I will point out that it's probably, I always look for the good in everything.
mhm,
So the only blessing that to me that's, well, there's several blessings that's come from this, but the biggest blessing is my pain tolerance for other things are so great, are so high.
yeah,
Um, to the point where my doctor told me I should really be cautious because you could break an arm or leg and not realize you've broken it. I'll come in from working in the yard and blood's running down my arm, and my wife will say, "What'd you do?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know." So my pain tolerance is just so high. So I mean that's not a bad thing, but it's also not a good thing.
no, it's not a good thing. It's not a healthy thing to be in chronic pain of those levels on a
Right.
consistent basis, right? And that is what chronic pain is. And that's unfortunate, but it is fortunate in a way that, your tolerance is higher. And yeah,
Yeah.
but it's what a way to have to do it, right?
Right.
So, how has your brain injury changed you?
Well, I've had to give up a lot of things that I love. I used to play the prelude at my church
Mhm.
every Sunday. Well, the loud noises, I can't handle those anymore. It's affected my memory. And we have this, it's probably going to sound a little gruesome to say this, but we have a board of we keep all the um, words are escaping me, the programs that they give you at funerals.
Mhm.
So occasionally I'll look through those so I can remind myself who's passed away because in a couple of days I won't remember. We'll be in town and I'll say, "Oh, there's so and so," and my wife will say, "Rob, that person passed away 6 months ago."
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so then you get to really relive that all over again. So I've finally gotten to the point where I'm getting numb to being reminded because I know at any time someone could be reminding me that someone passed away that I loved.
Right. So is it just your short-term memory, or is it affected your long-term memory as well?
No, and that's the crazy thing. My long-term memory is perfect. I mean, we'll be out in town and I'll say, "Remember when we ate at that place back June of 95 and we sat in that first booth?" And that's not been affected at all. It's just the short-term memory that's doesn't stick.
Oh my goodness. And that must be extremely challenging, for not just for yourself, but for
Right.
everyone around you.
hmm
How
Because
did
people forget, though, they forget that you forget.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they'll say, "Remember when?" And it's not that they're trying to be insensitive, but then they feel bad when you go, "No, I don't remember when."
Yeah. And the one thing that always got me, the one comment that always got me is, "Well, you look fine."
hmm
I mean, you look absolutely fine. You look beautiful, handsome, perfect. You wouldn't know there's anything going on,
Right.
but people don't see what's going on behind the mask or the facade,
Right.
and it's life altering.
That's why I started my podcast. I wanted people to really understand and grasp what a brain injury is because it is not like what you see in the movies.
No.
Don't bump your head and then half hour later you're perfect again.
Yeah. Yeah. The
If
bump is
on-
gone. You're fine.
yeah, if only it worked that well.
Wouldn't it? Oh my goodness. That would be great. But it's not reality in any way, shape, or form.
No, no.
No. So, how has it affected your relationships with not only your wife, but extended family, coworkers, that sort of thing?
With my coworkers, it has really strengthened it because they have really been a community for me because I've done the same job for the last 7 years, I think.
Mhm.
So that's all I know. Well, they've added other stuff on to us. Well, I can't remember. I don't know how to remember. They can train me today, but guess what's going to happen in 2 days? I'm not going to know what you told me.
Yeah.
So they're constantly helping me to get over those hurdles every day. So I mean, I can't thank them enough for the support that they give me.
That's
My wife, she's a great caregiver. She's my superhero, is what I call her. She takes on a lot. And I know living with a brain injury person is probably not the easiest thing to do. But yeah, she definitely has it cut out for her.
well, you know, I completely applaud your wife. I mean, my spouse is the same way. It's they wear those invisible capes
Yes.
because they are just our champions. They understand. And at times, you know, you can see when they're tired and they're worn out, the patience level isn't there as well.
Yeah.
And they get frustrated too. It
Mhm.
must be extremely difficult from what I see from my perspective of living with someone with a brain injury
Right.
because you
That's
never know from one minute to the next.
right. And then the mood changes.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see them. To us, we're acting the same way we always do.
Yeah.
And but there, and my wife will cut me down sometimes. She'll say, "No, no, that's not good." And my filter, I have no filter. So basically, once it hits here, it's already out of here before I can think about if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yes, I can relate to that. I mean, after my last massive concussion, as you want to call it, um, my there's a certain word that pops out of my mouth once in a while when I get frustrated, and it's not a happy word. It's not a pleasant word, and there is absolutely no control out of it. It's just like there it is.
Yeah,
Oops, you know. But yeah, I understand the filter part.
yeah.
I truly get that, and
Very hard.
it is. It is. So, what other areas of your life has your injury affected you or affected?
This is really strange. Before my brain injury, I could only play in one key because I play by ear. I've played since I've been 4 years old,
Mm-hmm.
but I always played in the key of B flat. Well, since the injury, I can play in B flat, C, and F.
Now that's fascinating. So one area shut down, or one or
Uh-huh.
two, and another area opened up, which
Mhm.
is fantastic in some ways.
Yeah,
But why did it have to take that to make that happen, right?
right. Why could I have done that all along?
Absolutely. Did you find that your level of creativity has expanded as well?
I really think so. One thing I didn't know, I didn't realize I could draw. And I've been drawing pictures and things, and people miss those drawings because I didn't really don't do them very much as I used to. But I just I just went for it. I'm like, wow. And here all my life I've told people I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. You know,
Oh,
turns out I was a little more creative than I thought I was.
oh my goodness. Do you find also that your reading comprehension maybe has changed?
Oh goodness, yes. It takes me forever to read. I used to sit down and read a book. If it was a book I wanted to read, I'd read it in a night, two tops. Now, if I get a book, it's a month
Wow.
because I have to completely reread what I just read 2 or 3 times to understand what were they saying.
Do you also find, and I know this happens to me, like you have, for example, if I'm out in the car, someone else is driving, obviously, you lose moments in time.
Hmm.
Like you don't know how you got from point A to point B, other
Yep.
than you know you're there.
Hmm.
Kind of scary.
Very scary, and especially if you're driving by yourself. I don't drive very far without someone in the car with me or by myself very far. I will tend to forget where I'm going. So my wife, she's a genius. She put sticky notes in both cars. So when I go somewhere by myself, I can write down where I'm going and stick it on the steering wheel. So when I forget where I'm going, I don't have to panic because all I can do is just look at the steering wheel and, oh, I'm going to the dentist.
Oh my goodness. It is brilliant. She is a true gem.
Mhm.
Definitely,
She
definitely.
is. She'll tell you she's not smart, but she's the smartest person I know.
Well, there's different definitions of smart, right? I mean, there's book smart, there's creative smart, there's, you know, conversational. There's so many different ways of that definition of the word smart. And right now they're not coming to my head. So it's just, you know what? We're in this together, Rob. Do you find also, I think you touched on it in the beginning that your speech has changed?
My numbers. I mean, and it's funny too that people around me have adapted to me. Like my friend will say, what time are you going to pick me up? I'll be there at 2:20. He knows that's how my brain connects. And my wife will say that too.
Okay, so if I were to say to you, I'm going to be there at 3 o'clock, you would not be able to.
Oh, that would be fine. But say if
Okay,
you're going to be there a quarter after,
okay,
you would say 3:15.
okay. So
And then
quarter
that would
after
reg
wouldn't register as well as 3:15.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, you know, we had chatted before we did this recording a while ago, and I understood when you were mentioning the 1 1 and 1 0. I get it. And it's an interesting way that your brain has learned to still be able to recognize those numbers
Mhm.
and translate them for someone else to understand
Right.
or to communicate, I guess is the word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has it affected you physically? I mean, other than the headaches?
Big time physically. I have gained so much weight since the injury. I was a workout aholic. I
Mm.
would go to the gym 4 a.m. before work, and then after work, I was back in the gym by 7 p.m.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And I would be on the elliptical for an hour each time. And that was every single day. I got down to 144.
Wow.
And my doctor said, if you don't gain any more weight, we're going to admit you to the hospital because they were really concerned that I was losing too much weight. So hit your head and that solved that problem.
But you must have had exceptional muscle mass at that point in time too, though.
Yeah.
So how have you adapted to that aspect of the weight gain? I mean, has it affected how you see yourself?
Yeah. See, whenever I lost all that weight, I still saw myself as fat.
Mm,
Now when I see pictures of how skinny I was, I'm like, wow. It's amazing how your mind controls you sometimes and how you view the world.
yeah.
So I've finally accepted who I am. I would love to lose a lot more weight. I'd love to be more healthier. And I'm sure in time that'll come. But until that comes, I'm going to love who I am.
Fantastic advice for all of us, truly. So, how has your workout changed? Are you able to do?
No,
Mm,
they want me to, and I want to so bad. I'm still have my gym membership. My wife keeps on me to cancel it, and I probably will. I'm afraid that if I cancel it, that I'm not going to want to go back. So that's kind of why I'm still held on to it. But when you start working out, your blood starts flowing,
yeah.
and then your head starts pounding even worse.
Yes.
So imagine going, I'm going to go run a marathon today with my migraine. Now,
Yeah. Yeah. So when you mention migraines, what types of migraines are there? I know years ago I was diagnosed with three different types. So there was vascular, cluster, and muscular that were triggers for my migraines. What is there a special type that you have or
mine, it just feels like if you start right here and just go all the way back, it just feels like someone's got a vice and just continuously turning it at all times. Yeah, it's not fun.
no, no. Does an ice pack at all alleviate any of it?
It
Or
helps at the moment.
yeah,
I don't know if have you ever heard of the Havamat?
no.
There's not a lot of places that use this. Our chiropractor has one. I think there's only two places in the state of Indiana that actually has one. the chiropractor, and there's a physical therapist that has one. And why the physical therapist got it was because his son was in a car accident, and it was to the point where he almost lost his leg. And I think it was some German engineers that came up with this. I can't believe that part's fuzzy, but he came in and they, it's like a circuit. It's like a little machine that looks like something from 1950.
Mhm.
It's nothing fancy to look at, but they have you hold one end so you don't get shocked. It's like a little metal rod, and then they ground themselves on the other, and they just put on gloves so they're not touching your skin. But when their skin touches yours, you feel these little vibrations that's coming off. And what that's doing is that is breaking up like the scar tissue and stuff like that so it can flush out of your system.
Right. I know when you have an injury, say for example on your arm, and you have scar tissue building up and adhesions in the muscles and that sort of thing, it's possible to massage that out and do fascia work to stretch and release that.
Yeah.
Not so easily done on the skull, is it? Especially when you've got a headache. And yeah.
Yeah.
So have you found relief with that?
What I have found is while they're doing it, it like takes it down to like an 8, 7 while they're doing it. When they're done, it goes right back up. But I still let them do it every time I go to the chiropractor because if you're going to get, 1 5 minutes of relief a day, you're going to take it.
Oh, that would be almost heaven, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I mean, you get to a point where any relief is better than
Right.
the constant pain.
I've joked often. I said, if it would remove my pain from me completely, I'd have my eyelids sort of the back of my head if it worked.
Oh, jeez.
That's how bad you want to be out of pain.
Yeah. And is there any prognosis or like hope that anything will change in time for you?
Well, the neurologist says that had this happened to me like when I was 1 9, younger, your chances of getting better are so much greater the younger you are.
Mhm.
And I'll be 50 in 3 months.
Oh, okay. Well,
So I'm nowhere near that. We're going to get really good still.
yeah. But there's so much work being done and so many studies being done on the neuroplasticity of the brain and how, it can rewire itself. And that's
Right.
maybe why, when one segment of the brain shuts off from injury or whatever the case may be, then another part opens up. When I was doing my testing after my diagnosis, I could not walk, just walk across the room and open a candy wrapper at the same time. I dropped it every time. Or you try to walk and look up to one area or try to walk and multiply some numbers together. Oh man, I was tippy, I was falling over. It
Hmm.
was just very interesting how the brain works.
Yeah. It takes us 5 times more energy to go through those processes than somebody that doesn't have a brain injury. You
Yeah.
know, like just to make a cup of coffee, someone will go make a cup of coffee without even thinking about it. You've got to think, okay, I need to go get a coffee pod. Okay, then okay, it goes in here, and then I'll press this button. You're going through all of these steps in your head that people don't see.
If you can find the coffee.
My wife has found my cell phone in the freezer.
That's a good one. Pole
I
calls.
think she's found the hairbrush in there before too, and it's
Oh my
just like
goodness.
weird things everywhere. It just whatever makes sense at the time. You just don't never know what's going to happen. It's comical at times.
Well, and it's not an easy process to recover once the injury has happened. I know after my last one, uh, I couldn't, and I love to bake and cook.
Mm.
I could not follow a recipe, even the
Yeah.
simplest recipe.
Hmm.
I was like pointing, I'd stick it on my cupboard because, bending the neck and all that sort of stuff. I had it on my cupboard pinned up and just finger pointing. Okay, now I need this. And then you go to measure it and you forgot. Okay, you go back to it. It's like
Yeah,
6 or 7 times. And it's,
it's
yeah,
me. That is,
aggravating as all get
it
out.
is. And I would have to carry the recipe around with me
Mm,
because I would look at the recipe and be like, okay, I need onion salt. So then I'd walk over to the cabinet, and by the time I got there, I'm going, what's it coming over here with? So I literally carried that recipe everywhere with me.
yeah.
Like, this is not normal.
And heaven help us if somebody talks to us while we're doing it
Yes.
because it's gone. Everything is then
Uh-huh.
gone. And I know that's happened to me. And I really get short tempered when that occurs because it's like, oh, I had this much concentration left and it's gone now.
Yes.
Well, we can laugh about it. It's
Yeah.
not funny, but we have, I don't know about you, but for myself, you have to find the humor in it. Otherwise, it will
You
take you
do.
down a spiral and it's not a good place to go.
No, it's not.
No.
I have found the best healing is in humor. It's in being happy. It's in finding joy. What's the easiest thing to do? The easiest thing to do is just sit back and do nothing and say, poor me.
Yeah.
Well, what does that get you? It doesn't get you a thing.
It detracts the same kind of thing, actually.
Hmm.
And you don't need more of that heaped onto you from other people. You've got
Right.
enough stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The outside world's negative enough. You don't need to add to it at all.
Exactly. And we're just trying to, and for myself, I'm sure you must be the same. I can't speak for you though, but you're just trying to find who you are now, what you can bring to the world, and you want to contribute. You can still contribute.
Yeah.
And we've got to find the way that we can do that.
Right. That's funny you said that because I would lay in bed every night and I was getting like 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
So I would get on the iPad and I would try to find podcasts of people who had brain injuries that were talking about it. And of course, at the time, all I could find was Dr. So and so saying, this is what a brain injury is like. Well, you don't have one. So how do you know what it's like?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was complaining to my therapist about it. And she said, Rob, why don't you do it? I'm like, I am not a podcaster. Sometimes I can barely get words out. So,
Yeah. But you know what? We're human.
yeah,
Everyone has their thing. And whether they admit it or not, they do.
yeah,
And we can only do what serves us. And in podcasting, I don't know about you, but for myself, this is my give back to the world is creating awareness of
yes,
these things.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that's how you feel about it as well?
Yes. And every time I get discouraged, because I'm a numbers guy, I used to be an accountant years ago. So I'm always looking at stats and numbers and all that. But then you'll do a video and you'll think, this is really going to resonate with people. And 5 people will watch it. And you're like, man. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you'll get a message from somebody that watched that video that you thought was terrible. And I have an example, and I'll share it with you real quick. Uh,
Mm.
this lady had saw the video we did, and it was about what not to say to a brain injury survivor. And she said for the last 5 years, her husband had accused her of using her brain injury as a crutch, and she could do more than she really wanted to, and she could remember more than she said she could. And she said, I want to thank you for doing this video because I forced my husband to watch it. And she said, and after he watched it, he apologized to me and he said, I am so sorry for the way I've treated you for the last 5 years. He says, I believe you now. And she said it took a total stranger that he didn't know to talk about those symptoms to finally believe me. She said, so thank you for what you're doing and continue doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what gives me my drive.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to create awareness around these issues. We need to have open and honest conversations about how these things affect us and
Yeah.
how they change us. Not only affect us and change us, but the people we live with as well.
Hmm.
It is a huge, I don't want to say burden on them, but it changes them, it alters them as well.
They're thinking for 2 people now.
Yeah. Yeah, very well put. I like that.
Yeah.
Very.
That's the one of the other things that people don't realize too is, oh, I'm sorry your husband or your wife has a brain injury, but they don't realize that brain injury doesn't affect one person, it affects two people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it affects your whole inner circle. Everyone is adjusting to you. And, is that fair? Probably not, but it takes a community. It really does.
It does. And education and information and awareness is so key
Hmm.
because I'd rather educate someone about this than have them walk away because they're too afraid to understand
Hmm.
or they're uncomfortable with it or they just don't want to accept the fact or can't accept the fact that you've changed. And the one thing that goes along with this, and I don't know how you feel about this, Rob, but I know for myself, there's a whole process around grief,
Yes.
and that is massive.
I was stuck in that grief probably for a good year. I
Yeah.
could not get over losing the person that I was.
Yeah. Yeah. You grieve everything that you were, every dream that you had, the hopes that you had with your family, your partner, career wise, everything has changed. But
Hmm.
we're still here and we can still kick butt
Yeah,
however we choose to.
right. I, it's all about purpose too. I found purpose with the podcast. And that was when I mean, I would pray every night, God, just give me some kind of a purpose. There has to be more to this than what I am capable of doing. So that's when I found the purpose through this podcast. And then about, gosh, 6, 7 months ago, I started to write a book. And I think I maybe told you that when we talked before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am being published. It's probably coming out by the end of December. We're still going through the edits right now. So I'm thinking realistically, maybe January, February, but she's saying this year. So I'm so thrilled to do that because it's about my brain injury. It's also about so much more. It's about the different tragedies that I've been through in my life. And my publisher, she says, goodness, you've been through too much. I said, I know. Tell me about it. I lived it.
Well, the strong survive, don't we? And it's not just survive, but we've also found ways to thrive.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what happens. It's the human desire, the human will. I don't think the human will lives in the brain, honestly.
No, it's in here.
Yeah, yeah. We have courageous hearts. We're survivors, we're thrivers, and when you find your purpose, it's not just a purpose, it's a passion.
Yes.
Yeah. So Rob, what would you wish people could truly understand about people who have brain injuries and brain injury survivors?
What I would wish they would understand is more compassion for one, and to get to know the injury because my injuries are like snowflakes. No two are alike.
True.
A neurologist told me that you could line 5 people up in a row and hit them in the head exactly the same spot, and every one of them will display different symptoms. So that's what I want people to know is talk to people. That's how you know. Just like if someone has cancer, think about that. We all know what cancer is,
Mhm.
but do we all go sit around thinking about it all day, or we don't? And you wouldn't go to the cancer survivor and say, "You must have kicked cancer's butt because you look great." Well, what's the looks got to do with it? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's about awareness. People are aware that just because someone kicked cancer or they might be in remission and they look good, they know that's still in there. Potentially, it could come back. They wouldn't say, "Oh, you look great because you've kicked cancer." No, they would never do that. So just getting to know the person and ask them, hey, what should I not say to you? What do you find offensive?
Yeah. Ask the person, have a conversation with them. There's nothing to be afraid of. And I'm sure you and I myself would be willing to answer a lot of questions.
Oh yeah. I've never found a brain injury survivor that's not willing to share their story with you or their symptoms. We'll tell you because we want you to know.
Yeah. It's amazing how um, we find the strength and the personal drive that just keeps us moving forward. It's not that people without brain injuries do not have that, they do as well.
Yeah.
But this is an incredible challenge that we're faced with.
Yeah.
And it's not something that goes away.
Mm.
And usually it's not something that will go into remission either, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And as you age, it changes
Yes.
and other things can creep in.
Yeah, that was the thing that I did not realize when I first had my injury is you could get new symptoms at any point in your life. I mean, even years down the road, something new will just pop up and go like, "Hi, we're friends now." You know?
It's not like remember me. It's like I'm here now. You got to deal
Yeah,
with me.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like the unwanted house guest kind of thing.
right.
So, what pieces of advice would you give to someone who has experienced a head injury, or well, let's just go with a head injury? What
I
would you
would
tell
say
them to do first?
find a support group. Support groups will change your life. Find a good support group. Facebook has 500,000 of them. There are some out there that are toxic, and you don't want those. You want people that are going to build you up and be a support system for you. That's the best advice you could give anybody is to find that support. It took me 3 years to get into a group, and I wish I would have known before.
Excellent. So shop around, find which one
Yes.
resonates well with you,
Mhm.
one that's going to support and uplift, not one that's going to go the other direction, which is
Right.
unhealthy in a
Yeah.
lot of
If you
ways.
hang around negative people, you're going to be a negative person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything else that you'd like to share as far as, what pieces of advice you would give?
Um, I don't have it with me. I was going to show you, but if you have the ability to get a card printed up, a lot of the brain injury alliances in your areas has the ability to print out a card. You can list your symptoms, and then if you are out in, say, a town and someone doesn't understand what you're talking about, you can show them your card and it'll say, "Hi, I'm a brain injury survivor," and it'll list your symptoms. I keep one in my wallet. Obviously, I don't have a wallet with me, but I keep one in my wallet so I can present that, and it takes the awkwardness out of it.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good idea. I like that. And I also know when I worked with my chronic pain management specialist, they can hook you up with a lot of really good webinars
Hmm.
about education around brain injuries and around how to navigate your life in a new way, and also with upcoming research and things like that. I mean, I get them
Yeah,
quite often. So keep learn for myself. I'm an addicted learner,
yeah,
and it's partly because I love learning, but partly also because I want to keep my brain going.
yeah.
If you let it stagnate, that's a breeding ground for other things to happen.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the best advice too is you can get is to check with your Brain Injury Alliance. They can direct you to different areas. And I'm actually working with the director of the Brain Injury Alliance of America. He's going to be on our podcast in a couple, I think next month, I believe he's going to be on. But we're bouncing ideas off of each other. And I mean, I think it's great. One idea I suggested to him, they're actually already working on it. It's just taking some time. I suggested for them to go into hospitals when people come in with injuries to be able to present them with packets of information. But HIPAA prevents a little bit of a wall there. So they're actually working with the hospitals to implement when they print out the discharge instructions to give to you. Your local brain injury alliance will be listed, and then all the different resources that are available to you. It's just taking time because think of all the hospitals out there and they all don't use the same system.
Yeah.
So
Well, nothing ever goes smoothly, does it?
no, but that's going to be a great thing.
Yeah.
You know,
And
something I wish I had.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I didn't become aware of that I actually had a brain injury until I was 47, when I was in a car accident and had another concussion. And that's when we discovered that there were other things that had happened back when I was even young, very young.
Yeah.
And you just don't know. So,
Right.
education, awareness,
Mm-hmm.
talk to people. And if there's someone in your local area that's doing a speaking engagement on brain injury awareness, go, definitely
Yes.
go.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to a book signing this evening with a guy that I interviewed a couple months ago. He was on his way to become a minister when he was struck by a car, and he was in a coma. I can't remember how long he was in a coma for, but when he came out of his coma, he decided he was going to go back to school and become an attorney, and that's what he does now.
Wow.
Yeah, he is he is not the norm.
That's remarkable.
Yeah,
Fantastic. See, there are incredible stories there
yeah,
of recovery and just taking back your life. And that's what we all need to do.
right.
We can't always walk away from the brain injury. We can't usually, but you can take control back. You can choose how you want your life to look
Hmm.
and just make it happen the best way that you can make it happen.
Hey, sometimes it's a fresh start.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get a clean slate to start over. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a brilliant way to look at that. I like it. I like that. So Rob, what would if you could go back and tell your newly injured self anything, what advice would you give?
well, the first thing I would tell him is you need to find a support group. And then, you know what else that I would tell myself that I wish I would have done more of, because it became helpful for me when I was writing my book, um, to journal.
Yeah.
There were so many times that I didn't. Often I'll go through my phone and I'll see pictures that I don't remember taking.
Mm,
And my wife will say, "Oh yeah, we went so and so place," and I'll scroll through my phone, and sure enough, we were there. I took a picture of it. Take lots of pictures on your phone, even if it's something you think is not pertinent. Take a picture.
yeah.
You never know. And then go through those pictures, look at those photos, and maybe it'll stick, maybe it won't. But
Yeah.
still
If
have
not, it's a beautiful picture.
yeah.
Enjoy.
And if you forget and ask somebody, where were we at? What were we doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And be open. I know for myself, sometimes you get to a point when you get trapped in it that you just get short and you don't want to hear anything. But it the other person is trying to help us at the same time.
Yeah,
Just for me, it was a case of learning to be patient with myself first, with the injury, and then it just flows out.
right.
And that's hard. That's a hard lesson to learn when you're in pain all the time, or you can't
Mm.
remember things, or, I find my words don't always, I think my words don't always show up when I want them to. People say, oh, no, it's fine. But you feel like there's a total disconnect at times. It's not firing correctly.
Right.
And, after my last one, I'm finding that when I stand up, I have to talk to my legs to get them moving because they
Mhm.
don't always connect. And you could really do a lot of damn falling flat on your face or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
I fell downstairs because of that. And, it's just, it can be devastating, but, we need to just be patient and not accept, but be at peace with.
Right. You have to give yourself grace.
Yeah, definitely.
And the one thing I tell everybody is what's the longest relationship you'll ever have? The guy in the mirror.
Yeah.
Be kind to him
Yeah.
because he's always going to be with you.
Very true.
Give yourself grace.
And an exercise that I learned to do a few years ago was to, you look in that mirror, but you look directly in those eyes and say, you know what? You're okay. You've got this. And love yourself
Yeah.
because you are your own champion. You have to be your own champion. You can't expect someone else to do it for you.
Right.
Yeah. Rob, what do you have a favorite saying that you like or one that really resonates with you? I know you sent me one, but
I don't even remember what I sent you.
well, the one that you sent me, and it's been a while, and I will apologize for that. It's not my circus, not my monkeys.
I say that all the time.
And what's the meaning you get behind that?
Okay, I'll give you for example. This is not a real situation. I'm making one up.
Sure.
My wife will say, "Do you know the neighbors are doing this again? And I don't know why they're doing this." And then I'll say, "You know what? Not my circus, not my monkeys." Meaning that doesn't that doesn't concern me, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's great advice. I mean, we just focus on yourself and in your own being, in your own home, and what you're doing. And what everybody else does is really none of your business. How anyone reacts to you really is none of
Mhm.
your business. That's their issue. And just let them have it and just be just be yourself, really.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
worried about what's going on in my yard.
Well, yeah. And there's so much like so many things that are occurring in the world that if we allowed them into our space,
Right.
it would take us all down, honestly.
Right.
Yeah. So why go there?
Yeah. Why do
Be
you want to
aware.
carry somebody else's burden?
Yeah. Yeah. We got enough going on.
Yeah. My shoulders are broad, but they ain't that broad.
Exactly. Exactly. Rob, how can the listeners get in touch with you?
If they want to send us an email, it's liferewiredpodcast@yahoo.com. They can go on YouTube and just type in Life Rewired, and that usually brings it right up. It's usually the first or second search in there. And if they want to, they can connect with me through Facebook. I've opened mine up so where it's not private. If you want to follow me, follow me. If you want to friend me, friend me. I'm open book. I welcome everybody. I've even started a support group, my own support group. So if anybody wants to join that, they can do that as well. I let people promote their stuff. A lot of support groups are be like, you can't do self promotion if you wrote a book or got a blog or whatever. Can't do any of that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the time to support people is when they have this. Because if someone's wrote a book, tell us about it. We might want to read it. If you've got a podcast, tell us about it. We'd like to listen to it. That's what a support group is. But many of them don't do that. So that's why I'm like, I've opened it up and said, anything reasonable you
Well,
can
yeah.
post.
Yeah, you need to be careful sometimes. But so what is the name of your book, Rob?
Well, it's a working title. It will change, but currently it is the journey from childhood wounds to adult scars. Yeah, it's pretty deep. There's a lot
And
of stuff in there that's going to affect a lot of people. But yeah,
well, you know what? Sometimes we need to be shaken up
yeah,
and we need to be made aware of what's gone on so that we can change and grow and not repeat the patterns.
yeah. But yeah, I'll give you more information on that when it comes out.
Yeah,
She's saying by the end of December, but I'm thinking December, January.
that's fantastic. And I will have all of your links when we post the segment. I will include all of your links and be very happy to promote you in any way, shape, or form because I, as a brain injury survivor person, I get it and I understand what's going on. And I applaud you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
And I really do appreciate you sharing today.
It's my
Yeah.
home.
Thank you, Rob. Listeners, get in touch with Rob. As I mentioned, we will include all of his links in the segment when we post it. Don't be shy. You need to learn more about what it's like to be a brain injury survivor because there are so many people out there that are experiencing that are remaining sheltered and hidden because of fear. And there is nothing to be afraid of. We're human beings like everyone else. We just have a brain injury.
Right.
And we're trying to do our best. So get in touch with Rob, and thank you for joining us on another segment of Powering Through Life. We'll see you again next time. Thank you for listening to Powering Through Life, where we explore life's challenges and learn valuable insights from my guests about how they have powered through their lives to survive and thrive. We can learn incredible lessons by sharing and motivating the world through conversation. You can access all of the Powering Through Life episodes on my website, teresasims.com, YouTube, Facebook, and Spreaker. So join us again next time for another inspiring conversation.